From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I'm Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to this Monday's edition of For the People on October the 30th, 2017. The big news is Paul Manafort. He's surrendering to the FBI in the Russian probe, and man, oh man, everybody is speculating as to what is going to happen, but we're going to try to explain exactly what is happening. And I had to have my printer geared up for this because I didn't realize how many pages were to come out on this, but he was charged of conspiracy against the U.S. money laundering and more than a 12-count indictment produced by special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation of possible collusion with Russia during the 2016 presidential election. What are people saying? They expect that Paul Manafort will turn himself into the FBI. We're going to learn more about the charges. Evan Perez said early Monday during the network's Due Day program shortly before Manafort was spotted entering the FBI field office in Washington. Well, it happened, citing an unnamed source close to the investigation. CNN's Perez said, at this point, we do not know the charges. They're still under seal, as we previously reported. Of course, CNN having a field day with the reports. The New York Times reported Manafort and his former business associate, Rick Gates, have been told to surrender, him too, to face the first charges filed in Mueller's investigation. Now, keep in mind, these two are not guilty and proven, unless proven innocent. But it does seem that there is a lot of money exchange and money laundering, and this is not good for Paul Manafort and his business associate, Rick Gates. People are asking, but wait a second, didn't he run the campaign? Wasn't he part of Donald Trump getting elected? And isn't this going to show collusion with Donald Trump? Not so fast. Not so fast. It's amazing how fast the left will say, I told you. It's people right now on the sidelines. It's like the peanut gallery trying to get involved with something. They have no idea what they're talking about. But somebody that does know who he's talking about is Judge Napolitano. He is a senior judicial analyst at Fox News, and he is going to tell us what's going on. Judge?
A very sophisticated case against him. And the case shows that he and his colleagues engaged in massive fraud again, these are allegations only. He's innocent until proven guilty. In massive fraud on the United States government by failing to report income and failing to report his status as a foreign agent. What is troublesome and newsworthy is that the allegations continue to September of 2016, meaning during the time that Paul Manafort was the chair or chief executive officer, I'm not sure what the title was, of Donald Trump's campaign. He was still, according to the government, engaged in this massive money laundering fraud and was serving as an agent of a foreign government, the government of the Ukraine, without ever having informed the United States of America, as he's obliged to do under the law.
Really bad, folks.
The scheme to get wealthy was earning massive amounts of money from the government of Ukraine and corporations in the Ukraine owned by and controlled by the Kremlin, having that money paid to dummy offshore accounts, having those accounts purchase real estate in the United States and then borrowing money against the real estate and not reporting that money as taxes. So you can see the money went from Russia and the Ukraine to offshore accounts to real estate in the U.S.
All right, there is Judge Napolitano kind of breaking it down, money laundering, working with the UK, working with the Kremlin. Not a good thing, but this is before he even got involved with Donald Trump. What's bad is that he didn't tell the United States all of these particular things, and now because the investigation uncovered all of this, unmasked all of this. But I reiterate, Peter King, he still says no collusion. We're going to hear from Byron York from the Washington Examiner. He says no collusion, Pete King.
I'm on the committee which is investigating the whole alleged Russian collusion, and I've not seen one bit of evidence. We had Michael Cohen, who was President Trump's attorney in this week. He answered every question. I've been there for almost all of the witnesses. There's not one word of evidence linking in any way the Trump campaign to any Russian collusion.
All right, folks. Well, there you go. I mean, Pete King would know, being on the House Oversight Committee. They would know. Washington Examiner Byron York, who I respect very, very highly. But, Gates, what did Manafort do before he entered the Trump world? That is a big question that people are asking. And who can answer that would be Byron York on that.
Politically, that's going to be the huge issue here. And again, the thinking was that the indictment would probably cover business dealings that Manafort had in Ukraine and in Eastern Europe 10 years ago. For quite a long while, he represented the pro-Russian president, Viktor Yanukovych. And the thought is that these would arise somehow from that. Did he launder money he was paid? Did he not report it on his taxes? Did he fail to register as a foreign agent? These are all alleged crimes that, if they took place years before he joined the Trump campaign, was the Trump campaign manager in June, July, and August of 2016. So the question is whether anything that he is charged with today has anything to do with his time in the Trump campaign.
All right, so that was earlier with Bill Hemmer on Fox News Channel. Governor Christie, he was on the Sunday chat shows, and he's heard nothing to indicate himself with his channels that President Donald Trump is a target of Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller's investigation. Important to point out here. In an interview on CNN's State of the Union, the New Jersey Republican said that the news has been good so far for Trump. He says, I think the good news from the president's perspective that he is not under investigation. Elaborating on how he knew that to be true, Christie added, the last news that we received publicly is that the president was told that he's not under investigation. We've heard nothing to the contrary. So I'm making that statement off the public information that we've already been given. And then in a separate interview on CBS News Face the Nation, Christie reiterated the assertion, declaring that no one has told Trump that he is Mueller's probe target. But you already know that there's so many on the left right now. We're going to hear sound bites from them coming up in the hours ahead, days ahead. They're going to be celebrating, saying, I told you Hillary Clinton guarantees going to make something. He's all over. How didn't Trump know? Blah, 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 blah. Still shows no collusion. Byron York.
Did he launder the money? Did he pay taxes on it? Did he register? That FARA is the Foreign Agent Registration Act. If you're going to be a lobbyist for a foreign country, you have to register with the U.S. government. The big question here is, if these charges are in fact all concerning earlier times, what connection could prosecutors make to the Trump campaign? And if there is no connection, could they be used to pressure Manafort into giving them information about any possible wrongdoing on the Trump campaign? The only problem is We don't know of what such wrongdoing might be, but certainly Manafort is now under pressure, having been indicted, and prosecutors can come to him and say, listen, you probably should tell us everything you know.
Manafort and Gates, clearly, but Manafort with the money laundering going on, with taking money from Ukraine, Kremlin connection. I mean, this is sad, folks. This is more people getting involved with foreign governments, taking money, and you wonder why the people point out real quickly to say, see, it just kind of, at first blush, you hear about it, and you say, but this guy worked with Donald Trump, even though Trump himself, these are people that you're involved with at the highest level. I don't know what's going to break down. All we do know is that he broke the law, is being charged, is going to, do some time. And if he doesn't, I'll be really surprised if he doesn't. Gates, I think, is going to do some time. But they're going to pull all stops out on this investigation. It really will be very interesting to see. But one thing that I think early on, just, from observing here, is to show emphatically that Russia has certainly used people and our political system and operatives to be able to further their agenda into our democracy. And so I don't think it's too far-fetched for Democrats to come forward and accuse Donald Trump of these particular things. So it's not like I'm just putting my mouth open, calling him a bunch of idiots. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for anybody because he associated directly with him. Now, most of these charges or assertions, if you will, were before he even got involved with Donald Trump. But, up until just the year or two that he was involved with the campaign in 2016, that's where they're going to look at to see if there was any type of collusion there up to. But certainly he is going to be prosecuted. Mark my words. But I just don't think that there's going to be any here, there with Donald Trump, as a lot of lefts want his head. But I guarantee they'll be salivating, and we'll be hearing so much "I told you so's" on the networks. They're going to love talking about this particular thing because this is like a wet dream to them. They love this. This is a beautiful thing. A sad story. You remember, obviously, the Las Vegas shooting from Paddock, the lone wolf shooter. Well, there's a lot of very touching survival stories, heroic people that came in to save people, save complete strangers, stole a vehicle, went to the hospital, all those great things to save lives. But one couple who survived the Las Vegas shooting died in a car crash just a half a mile from their California home earlier this month, 2 weeks after the husband jumped onto his wife to shield her from the hail of bullets raining down on them. Dennis Loreno Caver died after their vehicle crashed into a metal gate outside their community in Riverside County on October 16th and burst into flames. Las Vegas Review-Journal reported it took firefighters about an hour to extinguish the flames. And after the shooting, they heard from all of the people they cared about most. They were so happy. Brooke Caver's 20, their daughter, told the newspapers the last 2 weeks of their lives were just really spent living in the moment. They died with each other, and I will tell you, thank God they did not die. How this killer wanted to do was kill everybody there, because that's what he was trying for. I'd say rest in peace. It was a tragic story, but they had a happy ending, and that is that they were together. But a reminder that a lot of accidents happen miles from your house, mile to 2 miles. Some of you guys are on autopilot. You work those late night shifts where you go on a late road trip and you just kind of cruise right into your parking lot. But most are lethal because people fall asleep behind the wheel, and it's a good prospect that that's exactly what happened. They fell asleep behind the wheel. And they're investigating, they're doing an autopsy, but they believe that's what happened. But we are thankful that they at least were together, they loved each other, and certainly they are together during a very